because that at that time you can voice your opinion, and then you can find out about the votes and what's on the table, what's on the agenda. Oftentimes we come at the 12th hour, just before they're going to make a decision, or the night that they're going to make the decision, or the week that they're going to make the decision. That's too late. We should get involved in the process of why this particular decision is going to be made.
I think that brings back the issue as far as when they had the Martin Luther King's holiday, and they had that issue as far as the kids going to school. And they said they made that decision, I think, like a couple of years prior to that.
And we just overlooked it. We're doing something else. We're not paying attention. And they put it on the table, put it on the ballot, whatever. And then it's voted on, it goes on. And then we the city announces it that we're going to vote on it tonight. Well, it's too late now. You know, you voice your opinion. You know, yay, nay, any nays. You know, we need to be involved at the early stages of the process. And that takes going to the meetings, takes going to your kid's school, going to PTA meetings, going to all these boards meetings. You have to be involved. You got to be involved, because they will make the decision for you if you're not.
When you see the young kids dropping out of school, how does that make you feel? And when you see them standing on the corner?
Well, you know, before last year, I didn't understand it. When I went to West Charlotte, it's a group of guys went to West Charlotte, Men Who Care Globally, formed, and we went to West Charlotte. And we talked to these young men every Tuesday for 2 hours or an hour and a half every Tuesday. And that was consistent with them. But when you look into their lives, we understand why there are certain things in their lives that we can't change. And there's certain things that in their lives that we can change. And these things all affect them. And while they're in school, they're dropping out for various reasons. Their parents move so many times that they change high school so many times. Or they try to stay with their grandparent or a relative to be in that same high school, and then personal inter-family conflicts occur. And then that is a reason for dropout. Or they just get tired of being pushed around or picked on at school as for, well, boy, you're not going to do anything. You're not going to amount to anything. I don't know why you come into class. You know, you're not going to pass. Those kind of things that we sit down and talk to the kids at the school, we can learn a lot from them. We make a lot of decisions for the kids, believing that it is the best thing for the kids. I think if we take some of their input, incorporate it in our decision, we'll come out a little bit better.
What did you like most as far as being a homicide detective?
Meeting families, meeting the kids, just dealing with the families. I just love dealing with the families because the dynamics of the family before the murder, during the murder, then after the murder. Many families I keep up with many years afterwards. You watch the kids grow up. It's sad. I'm trying to be in a little boy's life now. I worked his grandmother's murder. I worked his uncle's murder. I worked his aunt's murder. Then I worked his father's murder in my career. And he's a little boy, and he will never really know his dad because he's only like 2 or 3 years old. And I worked 4 family members in his family deaths. And meeting that family and being consistent with that family over the years. And I lost him for maybe 5 or 6 years. And because of his father being killed, it kind of reunited us back together. And I'm still always going to be there for them. But just the families is big with me.
Being a homicide detective for over 20 years, over 800 homicide cases you've dealt with, what would you consider to be explain the first homicide case you attended?
Well, the first one I attended, and I worked myself, was a cab driver, Southside Brook Hill Homes area, and he was killed with a passenger in the car. It was nerve-wracking. I was new to the game, out there in the streets and everything, and it was just not knowing if I was doing everything right. And then the family depended on me for answers. And they were from Africa, the family was, and some of the family are still here in Charlotte. And working that case and making sure I did everything right, and I did get a conviction, and the guy did get life, for me, that was the best reward I could feel. And then after that, I wanted to have that feeling to give the families each time, so I can feel rewarded in helping them.
When you go to these homicide scenes, how does that affect yourself personally?
In my early years, it affected me very little. During my last couple of years, or last 10 years, where it affected me as the people that I was seeing being murdered, the people that I was seeing committing the murders, were the ages of my children. And when I look at that time when they were 14, 17, 18, 19 years old, as a person who was murdered or a person who committed the murder, I would always go back to my kid's face. I would see my kid's face because they were that age. And those kind of things bothered me, and they were tough. Then several of my own children's friends were homicide victims. Mm-hmm. And we don't talk about it much. We never really did. They just kind of let me do my job. But, you know, the few that they did know who were killed went to their high school or went to their junior high school. Those kind of things kind of make you not second guess, but, you know, why you want to continue to do this job. But I would never, ever stop that at the time.
How does your family accept you being a homicide detective?
Actually, they don't care.
You know?
They didn't. I wasn't a fascinating person. You know, I never went to my kids' school and did, you know, show and tell of your dad. They knew I had a tough job. They knew it when I had to go to trial and was working long hours on murders. They really supported me all through the years, but they never got into, what do you do, Dad? Or my wife never, what was that case about? You know, she never went to work and run home to tell me anything about this case. My kids never was fascinating about my job. They did ask me about when their friends were killed, you know, what, you think there would be a conviction, Dad? I said, yeah, or no, or whatever. Or did you arrest somebody? Very, very small talk. It wasn't never a long discussion at all with the kids, but they supported me all through these years.
Do you feel, what do you miss most? I know you was going to retire. What was your real personal reason for wanting to do that, other than the time frame? You felt like, you know, was there a kind of like a personal reason
for retiring?
Correct.
Oh no, I had reached my point of retirement after 29 years. I had a year of sick leave and retirement, and at that point, it was just time for me to go. It was 30 years at the department, 20 years in homicide, 27 years as a detective. I had to make room for the younger guys, and, you know, let them gain the experience and the knowledge and just come on through. But was I ready to retire? I don't think so. I just think I just said I'm going to do it just to do it, because I came back after 28 days.
What did you miss the most within those 28 days, as far as after all those years?
Talking to the people on the streets, going to the neighborhoods, seeing the people on the streets, talking to the families. That to me was just everything. Just being out there in the midst of absolute chaos, because you know you can control that chaos. And then when you see them later, oftentimes I'm in the grocery store, shopping, at the mall, at a car wash, and I'll see a family member. That to me is the best reward I could ever receive.
That passion you have for our youth, where does that come from?
My high school principal, I.C. Joe, and Mr. Prentice Moore, one of my junior high school teachers, and my third grade teachers, Mrs. Bligent. They instill a lot in me. They'll never know all they gave me, but the passion for community and the passion for the little guy, I would say, would always be there. Mr. Joe, my high school principal, we didn't have officers in school. He was the sole disciplinarian in school. We didn't have to worry about nobody else, and he taught us a lot. Mr. Prentice Moore was one of my teachers. He just instilled us of commitment to the end. Mrs. Bligent, I talk to her every week, my third grade teacher. I talk to her every week, and she still, to me, to still be in the community all the time. Never give up, stay in the community.
Do you feel like that we need more things as far as for our youth to do, as far as in our community centers? Or
yes, that is, and I go back to Mr. Prentice Moore. When he came to our junior high school, I guess we were in the 7th or 8th grade, we didn't have a Boy Scout. He formed a Boy Scout troop. And it was a hard thing because they already had a Boy Scout troop in the city, and he demanded and fought that we had one. We didn't really have a basketball team. He formed a basketball team. He took us on trips. He taught us everything as young men need to be taught at that age. And he instilled in us right and wrong. And I look back at that where he poured the time. He didn't have the money, but he made other people be committed to him. There was another gentleman named Mr. Leroy Barnes. He just got another teacher, and said, we're going to keep up with these boys, and we're going to keep up with these boys and girls. And they took their time, and they were committed to it. And I look at those men and what they gave. That's what makes me go on, because they gave when they didn't have anything. And sometimes we look for money and the funds and stuff. I know they didn't have it, but they were committed to us. And that's why I'm committed to the youth to today.
How can the church get more involved, or do we need to get more involved as far as the churches?
More activities, more real activities. We can have the church picnic, and we can have friends and family days, and we can have all these things, but what are we doing for the kids? It is a wonderful thing to give out the hot dogs and hamburgers and back to school packs and the balloons and, you know, the pop-up tents and, you know, the bouncy toys. That's great. But also we need to have committed youth function, not taking them to the basketball games all the time, but sit down and just find out what's going on in their lives and what do they need. We don't have to wait for the rally for school supplies. It should always be school supplies at the church. Instead of we raise school supplies at the beginning of school, all the kids get the supplies. So what about January? Do we have school supplies for the kids in January? Or what do the school need? Churches have all, you know, we want to, if the kid makes it in life and becomes a doctor, then we want to be recognized with that kid. We should start here in the beginning. Have real youth functions and real youth programs to find out what's going on in their lives. And always let them talk to us also, and not us talking to them all the time.
We're running short on time, Detective McFadden. If you had one more thing to say to the community, what would you say?
Be committed. Be committed. To the end, be committed.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Detective McFadden. I really appreciate him coming on the show. Thank you for watching the show. You be encouraged. Thank you.